everybody. I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, and welcome back to In Retrospect, where we talk about a movie or video game that came out a while back, although today is a more recent subject because Steven Universe just came out with the movie, and we've talked about the entire series so far. So I figured, why not talk about the movie? Because it is awesome, it's good. And with us today, we have our usual Kat Macberrie. How's it going, Kat?
Hello. Yay, I'm so happy we finally get to talk about this.
And we actually have a special guest with us today, the Omega. Omega, how's it going?
Hello, how are you?
We're doing good. We're hot on the heels editing, crossovers. Both me and Hagen are hard at work editing crossovers, because Colin Bravo happened, and we all wanted to actually get to work on those.
It's like the summer ends and then crossover editing begins.
Yeah, that tends to be it. It's like, okay, Con Bravo, we take a month to rest, and then we're like, oh crap, we have to put out all the crossovers that we actually did. So I'm busy working on that, but how's things going over on your end? Anything interesting?
It rained today, but it's Ireland, so I guess that's not that special.
But yeah, today we're here to talk about the Steven Universe movie, which aired recently, and I was intrigued because I had no idea what to expect from it, especially since it wrapped up pretty well in the last season, and I know there's going to be another season of the show, and we don't quite know where the movie fits in all of this, but we have a new villain, and we have new characters, and we have new stuff going on. So, Kat, why don't you give us a brief summary of what's going on in the movie, and we can discuss it.
Sure. So the movie takes place about 2 years from the events of Change Your Mind. Steven is now 16, has at long last changed his clothes, and is now sporting a neck. And he has also helped the Diamonds to completely reshape their empire, so now there's no longer enslavement and genocide of planets. Everybody's at peace. The Earth is doing well. The gems, the ones that stayed behind, are forming a new homeworld, and pretty much everything's going hunky-dory. And then all of a sudden this new gem comes, a gem that only Pearl seems to know, who really, really wants to destroy the planet and to destroy Steven. And it's up to Steven to stop her before the entire world is destroyed.
Yep, and the biggest thing is that she has a weapon that makes everyone forget who they are, including herself, because Steven uses it against her. And so, yeah, we have to get everyone's memories back, and Steven has to get his powers back because he can no longer use his powers. It's very interesting. Omega, what were your initial thoughts upon watching this movie?
Well, I also didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to be like a whole separate kind of, this is a whole packaged adventure that, we started at the status quo, we'll go off somewhere, we'll return to status quo by the end, or if it was just going to be kind of like how the X-Files movies were kind of just a really long episode. But it kind of struck somewhere in the middle, and that was pretty cool, because I wasn't really, I was expecting one extreme or the other.
Mm-hmm. I was expecting it, like, the thing when it comes to movies, you have either something that is still ongoing, so you can't really shake the canon too much, or it's standalone and it's at the end of something. The only real way where you can get around that is when you say this movie is not canon and you can do whatever the hell you want. But a lot of times the movie is the ending, which was what I was thinking here until I learned about the new season. With that being said, I was very satisfied by this movie, and I think the biggest thing that really I latched onto was the villain Spinel, because not only is Spinel a wonderful villain, but Spinel is a hilarious character.
There's just so much going on with that character. And one thing that struck me immediately, and I know that it was on purpose, because I know that these people are so brilliant, and they hide so many references and stuff that this was just like out there, is right in front of everybody, was just the fact that Spinel's design seems so inspired by really, really, really early animation, like the early Merry Melodies and early Disney. And the fact that, like, when she sang a lot, she had that kind of, like, affected New York wise guy accent that really never existed in real life. It was only a product of Hollywood. And I really enjoyed that because it kind of, I don't know, it was just very, like, a kind of retro thing. And I felt like that was just in there on purpose for people who were animation fans.
She's like a homicidal pink Mickey Mouse.
Yes! Yes.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mickey, but evil.
I don't know if you see some of that early Mickey cartoons. He's pretty damn evil in those.
Well,
He's a little
yeah. But Spinel, in and of it herself, is a character that I feel like a lot of people got behind, and I really got behind more than anyone else. And a lot of people state that the big problem with, season 5 and some of the later seasons is that these despicably evil people are given a second chance way too easily, and we don't get a chance to see the conflict and change. And to a lesser extent, I can see that, but Spinel seems to be the answer to that, because she is a character who, throughout the entire movie, I would not see becoming a good guy, because she is too hurt by what Pink Diamond has done to her. And there are a couple red herrings where you think, oh, she's going to turn good, and then nope, end up, climactic fight, climactic battle. And yeah, she does join the Diamonds at the end, but she's not redeemed, and she doesn't feel like she can be redeemed. And I think it's an interesting choice to go with for this type of character.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad, actually, that Steven just didn't outright forgive her and invite her, like, into the group afterwards, because, let's be honest, out of all of the villains, she's easily the most malicious. I mean, she wanted to directly kill him and his planet for something that somebody else did. And I know the other villains have done similar, like, evil things, but usually it was either because they were trying to escape a situation or out of misplaced loyalty or something like that. In this case, she was, like, directly taking her anger out on other people that, had nothing to do with what hurt her. So I'm glad that Steven just didn't up and forgive her because of that, because she did try to kill everybody to the point where she even completely erased their memories and who they were as people. So, yeah, kudos on them for actually, going a different route.
Well, I think it's really interesting because I keep trying to do an episode of Psych Media about this concept, because I remember Nash saying on Twitter several months ago that one of the problems that he had with Steven Universe is the fact that it does teach kids empathy and teaches kids conflict resolution, but his point was, are we doing modern contemporary children a disservice by saying, oh, there's always an easy, empathetic way out of it. You be the good guy, you take the high road, you talk, you listen, when they might be going up against people, like the entirety of the internet, who don't fight that way, who fight dirty. And I kind of feel like with Steven that there's a lot of times when his empathy and his conflict resolution has to be the only way to sort the day, because, like, strength-wise, he wouldn't be strong enough to, like, defeat, White Diamond in a head-to-head fight. So that's his masterstroke. And there was just so much about the end of this that I was like, I can't believe they did that. That's really cool. The fact that her gem doesn't reverse and she doesn't turn back into her good self, and that the Diamonds are so enamored with her, even as quote unquote her bad self.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, because honestly, like, I do feel bad for her. Like, seeing that whole thing with Pink Diamond abandoning her, it's like,
Oh, God,
you
yeah.
want to feel, you feel sad for her, you want to be there to comfort her, and you think Steven's going to be there to comfort her, but then at the same time, you can't overlook everything she's done. I mean, that's kind of like, I actually compared to it's kind of like this article that I read where they compared her to, like, a victim of trauma, except that they're those type of people that when they experience trauma, they kind of embody the trauma. They are always wallowing in it and trying to bring everyone else down with them. And while they do seek comfort in people and can get a little better with companionship. At the same time, their trauma is so much that they just drag everyone down with them and take out their frustration on that person just because they're an easy outlet. That's kind of what I felt like Spinel was. And it's just, and it's a shame because, like, you see her when she's, like, pure and innocent and everything, and she seems like a nice person, but at the same time, you could tell how extremely clingy and dependent she is. So even if they kept her that way, I felt like that wouldn't have been a good friendship, regardless of what direction Steven went.
And the thing is that I didn't realize this until I rewatched it this morning, is that it's only about, 6 or 12 hours, after she kind of snaps that she appears on Earth. Because that's literally the afternoon of the same day that he warps off Homeworld. And that's when she saw the thing. So that's, like, she didn't really, I think the trauma was still kind of fresh. And I think I might have read the same article. It was, someone linked it onto Facebook off of Tumblr. And it was a really, really, really great in-depth examination.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think that's what you just mentioned was, like, everyone considers the biggest plot hole in this movie is the time frame in which Spinel saw Steven's message and the time frame in which she arrived on Earth. Because think about it, assuming that's like a 6 to 12 hour time frame, she somehow was able to get out of the garden, get to Homeworld, procure an injector, which, Homeworld shouldn't have anymore because of the change in the the whole monarchy and everything. She's somehow able to get a hold of that scythe. She's able to teach herself how to fight, even though she's a companion gem, and she's able to travel all the way to Earth and use said injector properly in order to enact revenge. Like,
yeah, that is a bit of a plot hole. I mean, granted, otherwise, like, without that, you wouldn't have had some of the more big tension of the film, but, I mean, I'm on the opinion that, like, the warp didn't take 6 to 12 hours. I'm thinking it was more like, from the time Steven warped, maybe a day has taken place, because considering he's traveling light years.
Yeah, that's true. They've never really narrowed down how long it takes you to warp different places.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not just warping. Like, warping you can do in an instant, as we've seen on the show. It's the issue that she somehow was able to procure these two highly destructive devices in an era time of peace, and was able to use them and learn how to fight, specifically against Steven and his friends, all within that time period. That just seems like a big leap to me.
The only thing that I could think of...
Well, the answer is muffin button.
Muffins?
Muffin button.
Oh.
It's just there.
It's
I think if I had to think about it, I think logically what you could say is that she might be party to places that Pink Diamond had that were hers alone. So there might have been a place that had a storage of that kind of equipment that Spinel was knowledgeable. Like, oh yeah, there's this place that I went with Pink Diamond one time, had a functioning warp pad. She could warp there from the garden. Then maybe the Diamonds and Steven might not have had knowledge about. But that's kind of tenuous,
I mean, Pink Diamond didn't tell everybody, like, everything, so I can buy that, but it is a bit of a stretch.
So once again, we blame Pink Diamond for all the horrible stuff that happens on
yeah,
Earth.
Pink Diamond is responsible for most of what's going on.
Seriously, like, that article talked about, Spinel as a toxic friend. If we are talking about the same article, but when you think about it, like, Jesus Christ, Pink Diamond, everything you touch, you destroy.
Everything I touch dies.
Look at Greg's hairline.
Oh.
Look at what you've done.
I'm still waiting for an explanation about how he got those tan lines and, like, what she did to cause those permanent tan lines. They'd never addressed that in the show.
Well, maybe it'll be next season, because there's a couple things that were shown, such as the chest in Lion's mane is open in the movie, which...
Oh.
What is going on with that?
I hadn't thought about that. I missed that.
I know, like, because I don't know why that was the first thing I thought of, because I was hoping for some explanation as to some of the loose threads left hanging after Change Your Mind, and then when they go into, like, Lion's Mane, I look in the back automatically and I see the chest open. I'm like, what the heck? When did that happen?
Like, all of the stuff that was stored there isn't stored anymore. I really want to see a bit about Lion's background. That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, especially now that we know that Lars is, a zombie, and the Lion is probably a zombie too, so, like, what's going on with that? And there's a lot of unanswered questions.
They also never answered the question about what became of the human zoo or the rose quartz that were bubbled. Again, I guess that's something that's going to be answered in the new season.
There's a lot of things that need to be answered. But one thing that I want to address too is because a large focus of this film is bringing back the memories and experiences throughout the first 5 seasons of the show that we've had. And one thing that people pointed out to me, and I kind of agree with, is that Amethyst, being the first one, was a little bit odd, considering Amethyst did have character development in the show, but the only thing that they did was bring her back to her home and, like, sing with her a little bit. They didn't really do too much with Amethyst as a catalyst.
Well, not entirely. I mean, her whole thing was that when she emerged, she was completely alone for, like, hundreds of years, just by herself. It wasn't until that Rose and the others found her that she started, finding herself and developing a personality. Because remember, when she first emerged, she was basically just a blank slate, just repeating everything that everyone else was saying and doing. And it's being around people that actually loved her that actually brought out her best self. So you can interpret it as that, because some people, start off really shy and introverted, but when they meet the right people, it brings out the best in them.
I can agree with that to an extent, but I do feel like they undercut her development in the series a little bit.
See, I was thinking that when they found her in Vidalia's garage, I was really thinking that, somehow she knew to seek out, her former best friend. And, Vidalia would play a part in it, but she didn't. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was surprised about that, too. I thought we'd at least see, a cameo, but she's only in, the background for, one scene.
Maybe the voice actress couldn't come back for it or something, or I'm not sure.
Possible.
Well, and also, her dynamic with Steven's interesting because she was kind of like the baby, the littlest child for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, she kind of becomes the cool older sister. And we see her in season 1. She is kind of like the cool older sister to Steven. But then, because of all the stuff with Jasper, because she's basically sees herself being eclipsed power-wise by Steven, she doesn't know he's a diamond yet. I think that there was kind of like that, not a rivalry, but who's the older one here? And then when they kind of meet as equals, when they first fuse, I think that was kind of a defining moment. So I would have liked to see more, but I can kind of see it.
Mm-hmm. If they had gone to the floating training area, I think that would have been an interesting thing to do, because that was a big part of her development. Or maybe to where they fought Jasper and she lost. But, I mean, that's... You only have so much time in the movie, and granted, Garnet and Pearl have so much development. Getting them to their current selves takes a while, I understand that. I just would have liked a little bit more with Amethyst.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's what montages are for, so...
Yeah, we don't know what didn't happen
in the
montage.
So what did you think of Pearl's development in the movie?
I actually... I know I shouldn't laugh, but I think it's kind of funny that she only, started changing once Steg came into the picture.
I was not prepared for that. I was just all right, so we're using fusion as this big, huge metaphor, right? And then,
right.
Steven and his dad fused, and I was like, well, there goes that.
Another thing I saw, and it was the worst thing ever, it was just a meme comic someone made about afterwards where Steg got a little bit too carried away with his fangirls, and it was just so horrible, and I'm just yeah, I kind of wish they had brought Connie in for the fusion rather than Greg. Granted, I like the idea of a new fusion. I like Steg. It's basically Space Dandy meets JoJo, but at the same time, it does undercut the message of this is sex.
Yeah. I don't know, I was kind of this is cool, but... Oh. Oh
I mean,
dear.
I've heard different interpretations of fusion. Like a lot of people do compare it to like a sexual relationship, but then others say that it's actually supposed to be a reminiscent of like a deep bond you have with other people. Because think about it, Steven's fused with Amethyst too, and there's obviously no sexual
That's
like
true.
tension or any sort of thing there. It's more just like a sibling bond that caused him to create Smoky Quartz. So again, it's a parental bond with his dad that created Steg. I mean,
Okay,
I
you
get
could say that.
I get the big metaphor and everything. It's so blatant, but again, it could mean other things.
That's true because I think it was it Plato or Socrates? One of the philosophers had this idea of the five loves. Like there was like eros was erotic love. It must have been Plato because platonic love is between friends. There's brotherly love, love between parents, and then one was
Agape.
agape is the love for God or love for the state. I can't remember. one of them.
Agape is like is sort of platonic love
Okay.
or like familiar love.
I know one of them was like love between the person and the state, and I was like, I disagree.
That doesn't exist anymore.
I mean, yeah, it could be different types of love. We did have a whole thing in season 2 about the fusion between Pearl and Garnet, and yeah, it does play a part. But it, familial love and it is another type of love, so I could buy that.
Fair enough.
Steg is pretty interesting though. I love Steg's song.
And I love he has the magical ability to make other people float and to turn gay women straight. Again, like I said with Pearl, because like as soon as he appears and he does like that magic thing on her, suddenly she starts becoming herself again.
I like that she basically got this 1960s inspired acid trip, music segment.
Yeah, where she's like going through like her whole like life and arc and everything. Like that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that too, that it's not Rose that actually triggers her memories and everything. It's her rediscovering herself and wanting to have independence and be her own gem.
Aye.
Because I was a little worried at first when they had Amethyst become Rose. I'm like, ooh, that's uncomfortable.
And the
But
fact that
it-
she was like, "What? What are you doing?" I don't understand.
I do like that the fact that it was losing the person that was most important to her that really changed her into who she was, and the whole montage of that was a big part of why I like the film, because it emphasizes it's not just one thing that made her to who she is today.
Mm-hmm. Plus, it was losing
but-
Rose that actually encouraged her to move on and live for herself. Because that's all her.
And become the badass, law-breaking, Tokyo Drift, pink hair, biker girl loving gem that she is.
I was so wanting just a background cameo from the Mystery Girl, and it never happened.
Yes, I want to know her name.
I want to know if she
I
ever
love
called
that
her
episode.
back.
Well, in a single Pale Rose, she has, when she's like sorting through, her in her gem, sorting through all her alphabetized stuff, there are several people's phone numbers, and one of them has like a lipstick kiss on it, and then I was like, whoa, Pearl. My
She
goodness.
gets around.
Right? Stay to her.
She's good at what she does. I mean, she got a number within like 5 minutes.
It's just a shame that she didn't have a phone at that point. She could have given her, the girl her number. But again, I'm wondering if she ever actually called the girl back, because, like she was so enamored with her, you think she'd like take a risk or something.
Maybe she will now.
I mean, she's been breaking the law for what, 6,000 years?
I really liked that basically, as far as Spinel and Pearl went, they were literally like reset to factory default.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really... It wasn't just that they removed their memories, they were actually physically reset like a device. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that it really does reflect very strongly in Pearl, is the fact that was basically a sex doll. Like, without, the sex part. She's just basically like, a companion that is built, specifically for you, is into all the things that you're into, is just adores you to death, and that's what she's for. And then becoming an actual... Yeah, I like that. And then becoming her own person. And that's one of the things that is kind of really tragic about Spinel, is she's designed to be a playmate. She's designed to be a toy. She's designed to make everybody happy, make them laugh. That's what she's there for. And the fact that, Steven's like, oh, you need to grow, you need to change. And it's got to be so difficult for, a being that was created for one specific purpose to try to act outside of that. So it was one of those things that made it even so much more tragic with Spinel, is that she was built for this. Everything about her is geared towards this. And then she was just, I won't say betrayed, because I don't really feel like Pink Diamond viewed her as an equal gem. So she was just kind of like abandoned, like, oh, I don't play with that anymore. I'll just leave it in the closet.
Mm-hmm. It's really tragic. Spinel is almost like a dark version of what Pearl could have been.
Oh.
And we've seen examples of this before. But yeah, the whole dialogue between her and Greg was a lot of fun.
I do think that I have a feeling though Spinel might have been a bit of a defect though, because even for someone who's designed for companionship, she's still like super ultra clingy. Because even when like you see parts where Pink Diamond's trying to either converse with the other diamonds or she's trying to leave, like Spinel's always like jumping up and getting up in her personal space and even trying to prevent her from leaving.
Boop.
Like I can't help but wonder if maybe her setting was a little off, or maybe it just got dialed up to 11 at some point and that's why she's like that.
Or maybe she's just too pure of a gem, because like her heart gem was shinier than some of the others that we've seen. So it could have just been she was too pure an example of being innocent. And
yeah, and Pearl even says in that song, "Oh, look, it's a Spinel. Aren't you the lucky one? The cut is perfect on this one."
And true.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering because like Pearl's acknowledge that they're just things that they have no right to feel or have thoughts of their own. So you think it would kind of be the same for like a companion gem, but the fact that she was like that clingy, and that once she realized that she was lied to, she immediately jumps to like murderous rage. It just makes me feel like there was something maybe a bit off about her.
Well, here's the thing.
I did still think she was funny though. I love when she constantly was like, "Boop, don't you guys know how to play tag?"
That was a great line. Do you not know? One of the things that was really interesting in that article I read was they had said that a lot of people in the fandom were comparing Spinel's behavior to somebody with borderline personality disorder. And I'm going to put the psychologist hat on for a second.
Psychologist hat.
Psychology time. One of the major, not facets, but one of the major things about people who have borderline personality disorder is that they fear abandonment, either real, and it even says in the diagnostic criteria, either real or imagined. And so she was alone for 6,000 years, and that's not a lot, in the eyes of a diamond or something like that. But in her song, she talks about, wondering, am I doing this right? And so it's obvious, like the wear on her face after 6,000 years, and the look in her eyes, that like having all that time to ruminate on her purpose, and then realizing that she was abandoned, and then that's kind of like her own personal trigger at that point, is when people go to do something without her, when they're all everyone's hugging and she's off on the sidelines, or she's worried she's going to be forgotten, or saying I'll come too. So it's kind of like, I can't speak for a community of people, but if people who have borderline personality disorder have been saying this is how I feel, then I feel that would be an accurate comparison to make.
I can definitely agree with that, because Steven Universe has tackled a lot of things before. We talked in our last episode about how Steven as Pink Diamond is very much akin to a trans person's transition. And I applaud them dealing with this sort of topic, because it's not easy. It's not something that's really talked about all that much. And I really enjoyed seeing a complex villain character that's not just, oh, we must destroy all the things.
Oh God, yeah, that the end of Change Your Mind was just so jarring. If you can't be yourself, I'll do it for you. I only want what's best for you. And I won't lie, when Pink Diamond pulls out Steven's gem, I went and I curled up. Like not like to see someone get hit in the crotch kind of curl up, but the like, see someone punched in the gut kind of curl up. Oh no.
It
And
was
that
a
was
big
just
moment.
so striking.
When you see Kali Ma rip the heart from someone's chest.
And yeah, exactly. I think it was so striking because it felt more personal. Because yeah, you could have the big Lord of Darkness say, "That's it, Steven Universe. I'm gonna kick your ass. I've had it with you. I'm gonna kill you." And you're like, yeah. But I only want this for your own good. I'm only doing this for you. I'm only taking away everything you love and you care about. I'm only taking away your individuality for your own good because I love you. And that's kind of like, whoa.
It hit very close to home for me. I'm not gonna lie. Given many recent events with family and whatnot, and thankfully they're starting to resolve. But yeah, like the Steven Universe deals with these psychological things that I think are worth talking about. And yeah, there are some problems with the literal Nazis turning over a new leaf so easily. At the same time, it still hits very close to home for me.
Oh, wow.
I gotta say, I know you mentioned that Amethyst transition back to like her old self was kind of like weird and abrupt. I think it was a little bit weirder with Garnet. Considering that you think that would have happened once Ruby and Sapphire regained their memories, but she somehow doesn't, and it's when they talk about truth that she suddenly gets a sense of herself again. I thought that part was kind of weird and rushed.
It depends, because Garnet has a lot going on, but I think it also parallels her development. Like, her initial development was her finding herself but with the 2 gems, but her second development was finding individuality apart from her gems, the true love that separated them, because during their marriage episode, they spent a lot of time apart figuring out why they need each other, and I think that more works with that.
I guess. I just thought her whole thing was love, and once they discovered that would have been it. But I guess what you said, like the true kind of love with them going through that whole separate thing, I guess it works.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed kind of weird to me that it's like took up to that point for it to finally register.
Yeah, but then if she had regained her memory very early on, she would have been able to figure out everything immediately.
True. Need to build that tension.
Garnet in Cotton Candy Garnet is not Garnet the put together leader, that she is now. And she
right.
And I love that she was so innocent, like looking at a spork and being like, oh my god, it's a fusion of 2 different. I know that was implied,
cute.
And I thought it was so cute how at the concert she and Spinel start dancing and they seem to get on really well. And then when Spinel comes back, she's like, oh my god, did you change your hair? And I love that very innocent Garnet, and it does kind of make sense because when she first joined Rose and Pearl, everything was new, and it was kind of like, oh my gosh, who am I? What is this world? What's going on? And so I feel like she was kind of very innocent and very feeling like Earth is a new place where I can start again, and I have this new chance, and everything's gonna be fine. I have these friends who accept me. And I feel like it was probably maybe the war that turned her into kind of the hardened, not warrior, but warrior Garnet, that we had.
Right.
And I don't know, yeah, her thing is about the answer and the truth and love being the be-all and end-all. But I would have liked to see something that referred to her as, the fact that she was the leader for so long. And there have been so many times, that everyone's like, we all look up to you. We all, hope that you're going to, know what to do.
When you think about it, the crystal gems are basically the Powerpuff Girls. I mean, you have the 3 gems. You have the tough one. You have the leader, and you have the cutesy one.
See, I've only ever seen probably about 4 or 5 total episodes of Powerpuff Girls in my life, and most of it was from the original one back in the day. So, I'll if you say so, then I believe you.
I'm just gonna go with the joke, okay?
I mean, I can maybe see it, but the thing is, the Powerpuffs are a lot more simplified.
That's another really cool thing about this show. No, that you've hit on it exactly, is the fact that it doesn't pander to children. That takes these really, really, really complex things, and that's one of the things that I try to look at a lot as a psychologist, and especially when I do psych media episodes, is this idea that we think that everything has to be watered down for children, that that we can't talk about complex things. They're not going to stand. They won't have the emotional and intelligence to understand. They won't have the actual intelligence yet to understand, and that's never been the case with Steven Universe ever.
Right. Actually, a lot of TV shows are starting to do that now, and a lot of people consider this like the golden age of children's television, because most shows like are now moving away from like the stupid, like pandering to kids like mentality, and are actually introducing these complex issues, and introducing all these other aspects like trans characters and gay parents and stuff like that. And I'm really glad that they're doing that. And a lot of people seem to credit Steven Universe with being among the first shows to actually do that. But I mean, at the same time, it's just really nice just to see all that starting to become the norm. And because I'm like seeing stuff on Nickelodeon, like you compare that to Steven Universe, like there's no comparison, like at all.
You would see some stuff occasionally in the 80s, and especially things that involve Jim Henson, Sesame Street, a lot of his stuff. Mr. Rogers sometimes would be very direct like that, but I've gotten a lot of people asking me, will you do an episode about My Little Pony, the new My Little Pony? And I was like, no, not really, because what I talk about is when you find this in earlier stuff, this kind of like not secret, but this subtextual complexity. Whereas, like you say, a lot of the stuff now, it's not subtextual, it's main text, So I can't say, oh, we're going to talk about this when they're coming in and out and they're doing it on purpose.
Speaking of complex stuff, let's talk about Steven's entire thing in this movie, because Steven got a lot of development. And at first, I was a little bit concerned because, I was wondering how he lost his powers when he's been through all this experience. Like, he should at least know how to use some of his stuff. And then I remembered, he kind of reverted to how he was, not in the first season, but, like, in the second or third season, where he was starting to grow into more of a character, but he still hadn't fully developed yet, and he still hadn't realized that he had the power to change others. I thought it was very interesting when he finally got his powers back, because I wasn't quite expecting it. I was expecting him to talk to her and get the answer out of Spinel.
It's actually funny, because when the episode of Pale Rose first premiered, like I watched that, and I was totally shocked at the reveal. But then right after that episode, they aired the episode Serious Steven for whatever reason, I guess just to fill the time slot. And it is so jarring to see how he was then as opposed to now. Like, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, oh my god, he was stupid as a kid.
He was two completely different characters.
And a little bit obnoxious. Well, you know what? He's... I realized a really great way to think about this. He's your best friend's little brother. When you guys first become friends, he's a little obnoxious guy that makes these stupid jokes and wants to come with you everywhere. And you're like, oh, whatever. But then as you get to be like a teenager, and then he gets to be a teenager, and you're like, by now, like, hitting your early 20s, and he's hitting his stride as a teenager. You're like, oh, it's my best friend's little brother. He's a really cool guy, we let him come with us and hang out. It's cool dude, Because when I started to show Hagen some episodes of Steven Universe, I think we're up through, I think it's just halfway through season 3, and I kind of felt like after the first few episodes, like, they need to apologize. Like, it gets better. It gets better. He's not this annoying all the time.
I had to tell that to Zenith when I first showed her the episodes.
It took me a while to get through season 1, and that's the thing. Season 2 changes him so much for the better, and everything from season 2 to season 5 makes him a better person and a better character. Resetting him to default is the worst thing they did.
And I also feel like he does occasionally, I think it was in like either late season 4 or early season 5, where he screwed up a lot just by trying to help people. And I think the main difference between him and Pink Diamond and Rose Quartz is the fact that when he hurts people, he realizes it and feels bad about it. And I think that Pink Diamond would not have, and I think Rose Quartz would kind of on some level realize it, but, you know, she kind of viewed humans as, I think, like, you know, really neat pets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But where Steven sees them as equals, oh my gosh, I've hurt someone.
Yeah, Pink Diamond would in no way take responsibility because, again, being, you know, a privileged monarch, she would just assume that, you know, this was just something that lower life forms did or felt and not fully take into, like, the full effects of her actions. But, yeah, Steven definitely, you know, having lived as a human, can definitely tell when he's messed up and when someone's hurting.
Mm-hmm.
So... And I gotta say, I kind of cried a bit during the part where he's, like, realizing that he's now living, like, all the horrible things that he's ever been through. You know, how a gem he barely knows is trying to kill him for something his mom did and all that, and how he can barely control his powers. And the realization that while he is back where he started, he realizes that, you know, his capacity to change and to, you know, and to correct his behavior is really what made him who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that part really got to me because it's kind of like a person with depression where, you know, they think that, oh, I'm worthless, I can't do anything, nothing matters. But then you think back, well, how was I, like, 2 years ago or 5 years ago? Who am I now? Look how much I've improved. Like, that hit home for me,
Mm-hmm.
like, a lot.
Yeah, that did really hit home, and it's a great message for how the show showcases character growth. It's very steady, and you can see it back, like, you know, going from Pink Diamond to Rose Quartz to Steven Season 1 to Steven Season 2 to Season 5 to the movie. They're all very different people, and it's like, people can change, and that realization is something I think a lot of kids need to hear, so I really applaud that message.
I like Peridot even came out and said, oh no, I touched it. I would have lost all my character development. I do want to see more of Peridot, Lapis, and Bismuth. I love Bismuth to death. I'm glad that they got as much screen time as they did.
I do like that they're all buddy-buddy now. They're like the new crystal gems.
We're the new crystal gems.
Although that kind of, like, makes me, like, a little sad that, you know, that we had such, like, a semi-long time skip because we didn't really get a chance to see them, you know, bonding and becoming the friends that they are. I mean, I'm sure they'll probably do something in, like, the new season, like either a flashback or whatever, or have an episode dedicated to them. But I do want to, like, see more episodes focused on them because they're all just adorable.
I also love that she kept the Gurren Lagann glasses. She is still the drill that will pierce the heavens.
I really love the interplay between Peridot and everybody else, because I saw a lot of people I think this was on Reddit talking about how they interpreted a lot of Peridot's behavior as somebody who would be on the spectrum and really trying their best to understand the way that other people behave. But I just love the fact that especially when she and Lapis were roommates, and now especially with Bismuth, so she's just kind of embraced that. Like, this is just a thing that we do. It's crazy and weird. No one else gets it, but we think it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's just how friends should be. Like, I really like that. Like, when she did the performance art in the barn and stuff like that. Now they're doing the same sort of things with Bismuth. It's like, they work together.
Oh, I was just going to say, I like that a lot of people have been, you know, saying, oh, we need, Lapis and Peridot ship, you know, that should be a thing. But I really like that they just do seem to be just literal, like, best friends. In, like, a very platonic way.
I could honestly buy it either way. I mean, I'm happy if they're just friends, but I'd also be happy if they were a couple. Like, they do seem to work oddly well together. And she does tend to bring out the better in Lapis. Because I was kind of, like, on the fence with Lapis before, because I didn't really like her, considering a lot of the actions she's done in the past. Granted, they were understandable, but still. But I do like that she's become a better character since she's been living with Peridot. So, again, I could go for it if they chose to, like, make them a couple.
Regardless of whether or not they're a couple, I think Peridot would ship them regardless, because she is into her ships.
I was just thinking that. I was like, that was just the best part. And I feel like that was, like...
It's subtext,
directly Steven. The writers just being like, we see you, fandom, we see you. You are seen.
She'd have like a 50-page manuscript on why they'd work as a couple.
Yes, exactly.
And you were saying, Kat?
Another thing that I really like this movie did is the music.
Oh God, the
Like-
music.
Like, I am so glad that they made this a traditional, like, old school Broadway musical. Because I'm looking at, like, the soundtrack, and they have 38, like, musical pieces in this special alone, and 16 of them are vocal. Like, that's really damn impressive, and definitely the most we've ever gotten out of the entire series, I think, put together.
And even the
Do you know what
reprises aren't like the exact same sort of like song, and they do a great job of like bringing leitmotif into it as well.
You know what it actually reminded me of? Now that you say, it reminded me of the original South Park movie,
Yes, it
which
did.
we went to not knowing that it was a musical. And I went with a whole bunch of people from my LARP group who were all theater kids, and we were just so blown away. We went back the next night and saw it again.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise. I mean, it wasn't like totally unexpected considering all the songs that they like to insert in South Park every now and again, but I think they really outdid themselves with the movie. And it's the same here too. Like the fact that they actually utilized their talent.
I didn't know that Crispin Freeman voices Connie's
Yeah.
dad. I love him. He's like my voice actor crush. him and Gideon Emery.
I just like one of my favorite songs was just the opening number when he warps back and he's saying the future is awesome and everything, and like it's one of those songs that I can't get out of my head.
Yeah, the openings that are actually sung by the Three Diamonds together, who are, you know, all Broadway alumni, and one of them's like an indie folk singer. So I'm glad that they finally utilized their talents like into this movie. And they did such a good job too.
It's
Well, and I think that doesn't. I know that Rebecca Sugar writes all of the lyrics. Does she write the music as well?
It was actually a collaboration. She actually got like several different people involved with the different numbers. She even got a rapper involved at one point.
Oh wow.
In fact, was it Opal's voice actress and Steg's voice actor? They're both musicians and folk singers, and they've actually collaborated together before in different bands.
Oh cool.
ooh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, so they actually got like legit actual talent for this because you could tell they wanted to go all out with everything.
And now I want to hear Steg sing "Take My Horse to the Old Town Road."
I really like that Estelle has so leaned into her part. Because apparently, I don't know where I heard this, but I heard that apparently at the beginning she's like, okay, it's just a job that I'm doing, you know. But then now, like, she'll apparently post stuff on her Instagram, like specifically for Steven Universe fans. And I think she showed up at a con as a guest, and that's where they recorded the "Stronger Than You" music video.
Aww.
Oh,
Right?
nice.
Like, I love Stronger Than You. Stronger Than You is actually the reason why I took a second chance at Steven Universe, because I heard the song being covered, and I loved it so much that I'm like, all right, Kat, we'll do this. But we got to make a show out of it.
You can only do it if you can monetize it. Come on.
We must
actually,
have
the Garnet's
money.
Garnet's song in this, "The True Kind of Love," actually reminded me a lot of Stronger Than You. Even like the setting where, you know, she sings it while she's fighting a villain, while all this big like action events are going on at the same time.
Garnet is
I
just
love
so
that because-
badass.
And the thing is that when anyone else is singing during a fight scene, I've noticed this, that the music will not be louder than the sound effects and other, like, you know, ancillary dialogue. But Garnet stuff, the music, the backing track, all like, it subsumes everything else. So that's like kind of like the only thing that you can focus on is the song. And I think that's really cool.
I also love when they said, oh, yeah, she's not back to her normal self. She's not singing with us.
They're not singing along. They should have. Oh, and that was another thing that struck me when they're, you know, having that kind of like "Don't Worry with the Crystal Gems" reprise in the little homeworld town, and then the song's over and Spinel's like, yeah, and keeps it on going, like off the beat and out of tune. And Steve was like, no, we're done. It's over now.
I also
And I was
Stop that.
I also love
Perfect.
the Sadie and the Killers bit because I'm like, yes, they brought him back.
I love that Sadie's scar is just part of her character model now. And I remember when I realized that at first, that wow, she still has the scar that she got on Island Adventure. The fact that in this show, like you'd watch kids shows, and I used to call it when I was little, we didn't win, but we didn't die. So like the bad guys would come, and the good guys would be like, "Oh, you're so stupid, we win." The bad guys would be like, "Well, we didn't win, we didn't die. Guess we'll just do it next week." And you always come back to that status quo, where you get the real idea that time has passed, people have changed, and sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Like like Mayor Dewey, works at the Big Donut now, but she kind of deserves. But like still, and when Spinel says, "You changed for the better, but when I change, I can only change for the worse."
Yeah.
And that, I think, watching this now as an adult, chugging forward on that train towards middle age, I was actually cringing when I watched this the first time, because I saw so much of my own kind, and I will be quite open with the fact that I'm on the spectrum as well, but so much of my behavior with friends in high school, like I'm so desperate to please everyone. I really want people to like me, so I'm going to go over the top. I'm going to do everything that I think that they want. Why doesn't anybody call me? Why doesn't anyone invite me to these things? I'd had on a field trip one time where I was told, "Oh, we're all going to go to the toilet here. You wait here." And 25 minutes later, I realized everybody ran off on me. And, okay, I'm over it now. But, and I thought to myself, wow, I can really, and it was really kind of jarring. I'm relating to the villain here, because I was that person. I was, good Spinel. I was like, "Oh, I love you. Don't worry. I'll be everything that you need me to be, and I'll get that validation." And I feel really lucky that there was never anything that kind of would have made me snap in that kind of way, because, like I say, talking as a social scientist, when they're having that final confrontation, and then she says, "I don't know why I want to hurt you so bad. All I want to do is be your friend." And I'm like, wow. I can't even imagine how powerful this must be for somebody, either dealing with mental illness, no matter what kind, that's isolated them from their friends, or just any other kind of thing like that. That was really super effective.
And if there's one thing I will applaud Steven Universe for, it's relatable characters and relatable scenarios. It doesn't sugarcoat anything, and yeah, there are some things where you might scratch your head at how, evil people become good at the drop of a hat, but there's also a lot of good dealing with mental illness and sexuality and gender and so many other things that are present in this film that I have to applaud it for.
And it's not even coming out and saying stuff like that. Actually, no, it was one time in A Single Pair of Rose where he's like, "Gee, it's a good thing you hid your cell phone, your repressed war memories." And I realized that, everybody who lived through the Earth Rebellion probably has some pretty substantial PTSD.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know Steven has PTSD from everything.
Oh, why?
They dealt with that, too.
And he's only 16. That's the worst part.
Pretty much. I love his varsity jacket, though.
Yeah, it's so cute.
I really do. I always did say if I...
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I always did say that if I had a whole bunch of disposable income, I'd go on Etsy or Redbubble, and I'd commission someone, like an artist, to do this for me, to do up Lion like Up and Rampant on its side, but kind of as a sports logo, as a high school sports logo with Beat City Lions on the back.
Oh,
as a football jersey. How cool would that be in blue and pink and white? That would be so fantastic.
Aww.
If I had disposable income, I would totally commission an artist to do this for me.
That would be cool. Yeah, I actually heard some rumors in regards. Well, not rumors. I would say speculation when people were theorizing what was in the chest in Lion's mane. Some people were saying it was the jacket. Which I think would be hilarious, but also infuriating. Because on the one hand, yeah, I believe Pink would leave something as simple as a jacket in a chest that we've been teased about for 5 seasons. But that would also be frustrating because it's they keep drawing attention to it only to be a freaking jacket.
And you know it's got to be something important, just with the way that this series is, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's like she left the Steven Universe shirt out in the open, but she put the jacket in the chest. Like, come on.
Well, someone on the subreddit said, at least we know where all of Steven's shirts come from. And there's a shot of Greg selling merch at his original stop in Beach City. And the adult T-shirts are like blue and yellow, but all the kids' T-shirts are yellow and red. And so, like, someone's like, "Oh my God, I just realized Steven's wardrobe is all his dad's unsold merch from like before he was born."
Pretty much.
And I realized that I was like, "Oh right."
Considering he's like a guy that lives out of his van and works as a car wash, he probably can't afford much more to like clothes to dress him in.
That's one of the best things about Greg, though.
Greg's a good guy.
Because you see the temptation to make him like a Homer Simpson or like the dad from Family Guy. You know, the big schlubby, you know, idiot who doesn't know any better, who's kind of boorish and stuff like that. But like, you think about it, he's like one of the best dads, like best cartoon dads, you know? Because he tries his best. Doesn't always, he doesn't always get things right, but his heart's in the right place.
I do like to think that Steg is what he would have became had he, actually stuck with his rocker career.
Don't know about those muscles, though.
I totally believe he'd have those muscles.
Because I think
a personal
even young
trainer.
Greg was rocking the dad bod just a wee bit.
I mean, he's still strong, though. I mean, he does lift a lot of the equipment he needs for, like, Sadie's band and stuff. He can lift to a degree, so muscle doesn't have to be, ripped abs and huge, like, swole muscles.
Although, Steg is kind of like an, like, quote-unquote 80s ideal, but much more in the way of, like, Bruce Springsteen, I would say, than, like,
I believe that.
hair bands. So, I wonder how much of, like, Greg's ideal self, what he wanted to become when he was a young rocker in the 80s, like, went into that.
I just love Steg's design. Like, I know some people have been creeped out by it, but I just love it so much. Especially because he has, like, the coiffed hair like Steven did in Steven and the Stevens.
Made me think of Johnny Bravo.
That too.
I just love the fact that Greg, he's a millionaire, but he doesn't utilize the money, and he's just the same person he was before. And he's living his dream as a manager, so...
I know, if anything, he's using the money to, like, help another band achieve their dream. Like, that's the best thing you could do with, like, all that money.
With that being said, I think it's time for us to delve into final thoughts, because we have been going an hour now. Let us start with Omega. What are your final thoughts on the movie?
I really enjoyed it. It's the kind of thing that I will probably watch several more times over the next few years. I'd love if they release this on DVD. I have seasons 1 and 2 on DVD, but I'd really love, like, eventually if there was a big like Blu-ray box set and that the movie was included. But it hit all the right notes. Literally. It was both what I expected it to be and both what I hoped that it would be. And, yeah.
And, Kat, what do you think?
Oh, this movie was great. I love the tribute to, like, the old Disney films and the old Broadway styles and the old rubber hose cartoony animation. The music in it was great. Other Friends is my favorite song, by the way. I just wanted to point that out. And Driftway was pretty cool too. I like that they showed how much the characters have grown since the beginning of the show, basically reverting them and then making them rediscover themselves again. I love that they gave a sort of unexpected ending by both going the route that they're known for, but then subverting it a bit at the end. And overall, like, I just thought this was a fun romp, and I'm really excited to see where they go in season 6, because I know they said that the creators have said that this movie is going to be setting up the events of what happens in season 6, so it's all a matter to see where they go from here. But I'm pretty certain it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And hopefully in that time, Onion will have aged, because he did not age at all in this movie. And he can teleport, apparently, because he shows up in 6 different spots within the course of, like, 4 scenes.
Onion is eternal.
Onion is is like a Cthulhu god.
I hope they reveal that in the 6th season. That would be so
Yes.
funny.
Yellowtail found him in the sunken city and brought him back to land.
He's the one that created the diamonds. He's the true gem god.
He's one of the
Yes.
old ones. Yeah, I really loved this. I think this was everything I wanted to be and a little bit more, because I wasn't expecting certain things. You know, I wasn't expecting the reversion of the characters. I wasn't expecting Spinel to be one of my favorite villains, because, you know, Steven Universe has some great villains, but I don't like all of them. But Spinel is now my favorite, and like there's some really great ideas in the movie. Altogether, I'm glad I saw it. I'm looking forward to season 6, which we'll tackle whenever that finishes.
Someday.
One day.
Well, I heard they're supposed to announce it at a New York Comic Con, so we'll probably hear some news in like beginning of October.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! Oh, that's great.
That's good. With that being said, we're not going to cover the season until it's done. Diving into DuckTales is its own thing. I don't have enough time to do all of the episodes in a Stephen bomb. But with that being said, we're going to look forward to other shows. The thing that we're working on next is Star versus the Forces of Evil. We've already started watching season 1, and I am really much in love. But I will save most of my thoughts until then. With that being said, I am Zenith Warrior Princess.
I'm Kat Macberrie.
And I have been the Omega Geek, and remain so.
And we will see you next time when we dive into Star versus the Forces of Evil and our quest for more cute girl things. I really want to cosplay as Star, by the way. But with that being said, have a good one, guys. And just remember, boop, boop. Don't you know how to
And
play
make sure
tag?
to watch Omega's show, because she's awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, make sure to watch Omega's show. She is awesome. And look forward to the crossover with me and Hagen and Omega in the future.
Yay.
Hey, this is Megami33. Thank you for watching Zenith Will Review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos. If you like what you see, check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/ZenithWillReview.